Imagine you've spent, 20 years building this flawless reputation as a CPA.
Right.
Your clients absolutely love you. Your retention rate is
You're
incredible.
basically a local institution at that point.
Exactly. Yet, this morning, you lost a massive, highly lucrative tech startup account to a 24-year-old competitor who works out of a local coffee shop.
Ouch. Yeah, that stings.
It really does. And why? Because when that startup founder asked ChatGPT to recommend the best accountant in town for their specific niche, the AI didn't say your name.
No, it recommended the kid in the coffee shop.
Right. So if you are sitting there wondering why your perfectly competent, highly experienced professional service firm is suddenly watching its predictable referral pipeline dry up, well, you are in the right place.
Absolutely.
Welcome to today's deep dive. We are analyzing a really fascinating roadmap published in 2026 by Mike DeRevel from MITCO Digital.
Yeah, it's titled Digital Marketing for Accounting Firms in 2026.
But, whether you are an accountant, a B2B entrepreneur, or just prepping for a marketing meeting in basically any traditional industry, this is your blueprint for surviving the current technological shift.
It really is a massive wake-up call for traditional businesses.
Yeah.
And, Mike DeRevel didn't just stumble into this space. He actually grew up immersed in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both his father and grandfather owned accounting firms. So he understands that deeply ingrained culture of these professions, right?
Where marketing was historically viewed as almost distasteful.
Exactly. Passive word-of-mouth growth was treated as this law of physics. Like, do good work, and the clients will naturally tell their buddies at the golf course.
Right, the classic golf course referral.
But the guide makes it unequivocally clear that the era of passive growth is dead. We are looking at how referral-based businesses are being violently forced to adapt to a landscape dominated by AI search.
And our mission today is to extract the exact mechanics these successful firms are using to build what the author calls visibility systems.
Visibility systems, I love that term.
Yeah, it's great. But to understand why a visibility system is non-negotiable now, we have to look at how the psychology of a referral has fundamentally changed.
It used to be a closed loop,
Exactly. A friend recommended a service, you just picked up the phone and you hired them. The trust just transferred completely.
What's fascinating here is the introduction of the digital verification process.
Right.
Today, a referral is merely a suggestion. It is no longer the final deciding factor. It is simply the trigger for a complex digital investigation.
The digital first filter.
Precisely. When a prospective client gets your name from a trusted colleague, their immediate reflex isn't to call you anymore. It's to type your name into Google.
Or ask an AI assistant.
Exactly. They ask AI if your firm has a history of handling their specific type of business entity. They scour third-party platforms for reviews.
The referral is no longer the finish line, it's just the starting gun. The actual race is what happens when they look you up online.
That is a perfect way to frame it. And if you are invisible during that digital first filter, or if you look outdated, you lose the prospect before you even knew they existed.
Which is terrifying.
It is, because you aren't losing to better accountants or better lawyers or better consultants. You are losing to more visible ones.
Which brings us to the real friction point here. Established firms are realizing they were failing this first filter, so they panic.
Oh, they panic hard.
They decide they need to digitize immediately.
Okay.
And in their rush, they fall into a series of predictable, highly destructive traps.
The guide calls out 4 big ones. The most common reaction is simply throwing up a basic website, like a homepage, a list of services, a generic About Us paragraph, and a contact form.
Right.
They treat their digital presence like a static brochure.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because, wait, isn't a clean, professional brochure website exactly what a serious professional should have? I mean, if I'm a B2B buyer looking for a corporate CPA, I don't want pop-ups and flashy animations. I just want a digital business card that tells me they are legitimate, they have an office, and they have credentials. Why do they need anything more complex than a brochure?
I get that logic, I really do. But a brochure simply sits there passively, waiting to be read. It places the entire cognitive burden on the visitor to figure out if you solve their specific problem.
I see.
A modern website cannot be passive. It has to function as a digital triage nurse.
A triage nurse. Okay, I like that.
When a visitor lands on your page, the architecture of the site should actively diagnose their pain points, sort them by their specific needs, and route them to a tailored solution that builds immediate trust.
And a brochure doesn't do that.
Not at all. And the MITCO guide highlights a fatal flaw in these brochure websites. They entirely lack trust signals.
Like what?
Well, many firms rely heavily on generic stock photography of handshakes and calculators. In 2026, when hyper-realistic AI generation is everywhere, a website full of stock images immediately gives off this AI-generated or fly-by-night vibe.
Oh, wow. Yeah, if a buyer cannot see real photos of the actual human partners handling their sensitive financial data, that trust just evaporates instantly.
Exactly. So the firm builds this static, lifeless brochure, and predictably, the phone still doesn't ring.
The leads aren't coming in, so what's their next panic move?
Well, the instinctive move for any stressed business owner at that point is to just buy traffic or
Oh, right. They think if nobody's finding my brochure, I'll force them to look at it by throwing $5,000 a month at Google Ads.
and that is the fastest way to set a marketing budget on fire. Advertising does not create desire. It only harvests the desire that already exists and directs it toward a conversion mechanism.
But if there's no conversion mechanism,
It's exactly. If you point high-intent, expensive paid traffic at a website that lacks trust signals, has no real photos, and offers no clear path to solving the user's problem, the visitor will bounce immediately.
that makes total sense.
Furthermore, ad platforms like Google actively penalize this.
Wait, really? They penalize you?
Yeah. When Google's algorithm sees users clicking your ad and leaving your site 3 seconds later, your quality score drops.
Because they assume your site is terrible.
Right, the algorithm assumes your site is irrelevant or unhelpful, which means your cost per click skyrockets. You are literally paying a financial penalty for having a bad foundation.
You're paying a premium just to show people a website they don't want to look at. It's wild.
It is.
Now, another panic move these firms make in trying to digitize is deciding they suddenly need to do content marketing.
Oh, the forced content approach.
Yeah, they force some poor junior associate in the office to write a 500-word blog post once a month about, like, tax deadlines.
Right.
They post it on the website, dust off their hands, and wait for the internet to magically shower them with clients.
The author refers to this as building a filing cabinet rather than a strategy.
The filing cabinet.
Yeah. A filing cabinet is a place where dense, isolated pieces of information go to be stored, organized, and ultimately ignored. Nobody browses a filing cabinet for fun.
That is painfully accurate.
The modern alternative to the filing cabinet is a content repurposing ecosystem.
The idea that one piece of heavy intellectual lifting should power your entire week of marketing?
Precisely. The workflow fundamentally changes. Instead of writing 4 shallow blog posts a month, a firm might spend a week researching and writing one deeply authoritative 2,000-word analysis on something highly specific.
Like the new tax compliance laws for e-commerce businesses operating across state lines.
Yes, perfect example. That is the anchor. But it doesn't just sit on the blog. The firm's marketing system extracts the 3 most surprising data points from that article and turns them into a carousel for LinkedIn. The managing partner records a 60-second video summarizing the core thesis. The FAQ section of the article becomes an email newsletter sent to existing clients.
So they get all this mileage out of one article.
Exactly. The firm achieves a ubiquitous digital presence, appearing across multiple platforms, all fueled by a single piece of rigorous foundational work.
It's working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
But we have to address the elephant in the room here.
Okay, what's that?
You can have the best website triage nurse, and you can have a brilliant content ecosystem, but the landscape of how buyers actually search for information has ruptured.
Oh, absolutely.
The traditional Google search bar is no longer the only game in town. The guide points out that the most critical failure a business can make in 2026 is ignoring AI search.
Yes. We are talking about the shift from traditional SEO to GEO.
Right, GEO,
Yeah.
generative engine optimization.
Right. In the early 2020s, using a large language model to search for local services was kind of a novelty. Today, it is a foundational utility.
It's just how people search now.
Exactly. When a user queries a generative engine, whether it's Perplexity, ChatGPT, or Google's own AI overviews, they are not asking for a list of 10 blue links to browse through.
No, nobody wants to click through links anymore.
They're asking the AI to synthesize a definitive answer from across the internet.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Old school SEO was like giving the customer a map to the library so they could wander the aisles and find the book themselves. But GEO is like writing the exact paragraph you want the librarian to read aloud to the customer.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, GEO is about removing the inference burden from the AI.
An inference burden.
Yeah, let's look at the mechanics of why that old map is obsolete. When an AI scraping bot crawls your website, It doesn't read paragraphs the way a human does, nor does it look for simple keyword density the way an old search engine crawler did a decade ago.
Right, it's not just counting how many times you said accountant.
Exactly. It looks for structured data entities.
Yeah.
If your website is just walls of text, the AI has to use massive amounts of compute power to infer what your business actually does, who it serves, and what questions it answers.
And the AI wants the path of least resistance.
Exactly. This is where technical elements like schema markup become critical.
Schema markup.
Yeah, it's background code that explicitly tags the information on your page. It tells the AI's bot this string of text is a concrete answer to this specific entity question.
Oh, so it just feeds it the answer directly.
Yes, it categorizes your business hours, your specific service niches, and your geographic authority in a language the AI instantly parses.
So when that e-commerce founder asks ChatGPT, what are the best accounting firms specializing in multi-state sales tax near me,
Right.
the AI looks at the local landscape.
Right.
It sees 3 traditional firms with brochure websites where it has to guess their specialties based on vague paragraphs.
Which takes too much energy.
Then it sees your firm, which has clean schema markup, structured headings, and a robust FAQ section explicitly defining your expertise in multi-state e-commerce tax.
The AI is going to serve your firm to the user because your data is the most structured, the most confident, and the most energy efficient for the model to retrieve and synthesize.
That makes so much sense.
And the MIT SEO guide emphasizes that good SEO and good GEO are heavily converging.
They're becoming the same thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The practices that make a website authoritative to traditional Google crawlers, like clear definitions, high-quality backlinks, and fast load times, are the exact same foundations that make you the preferred source for an AI language model.
So you're hitting both.
Exactly. The ultimate goal is omnipresence. You want a prospect to search traditional Google and find you at the top, and then cross-reference their search by asking an AI, only to have the AI confidently recommend your firm as well.
That dual threat authority is incredibly powerful.
It really is.
And once you capture that attention, you have to convert it. The guide dives into the rest of the 2026 marketing stack, and it specifically calls out the death of the generic lead magnet.
Oh, yeah.
For years, every B2B website had a pop-up saying, give us your email to download our free PDF guide to saving on taxes.
And nobody wants those anymore. The perceived value of a static PDF has plummeted to zero.
Zero.
Information is now a commodity. Any user knows they can open an AI tool and generate a custom guide to tax savings in 3 seconds without having to hand over their email address to some marketing list.
Right. So to capture a prospect's information today, you have to offer dynamic, personalized value.
The shift from static information to interactive diagnosis.
How does that look in practice?
The guide recommends deploying interactive tools directly on the website. Instead of a PDF, you build a custom tax savings calculator or a live business health scorecard.
Oh, that's smart.
The prospect inputs their actual revenue numbers, their overhead, and their state of operation. The tool instantly outputs a custom reality. It diagnoses their specific situation and highlights potential vulnerabilities or savings.
It provides immediate, undeniable proof that your firm understands their unique problem. And to get the full, detailed report of that diagnosis, they happily input their email address.
Exactly. And once they do, they enter an automated email nurture sequence.
Which is key, right?
It's critical because the vast majority of B2B buyers visiting your site on a random Tuesday are not ready to sign a contract that day. They are in the research phase.
So you stay top of mind.
Right. The nurture sequence automatically delivers high-value, relevant insights to their inbox over the next several months, ensuring that when the day finally comes that they are ready to change accountants or hire a consultant, your firm is the only logical choice.
Combine this with aggressive, targeted B2B networking on platforms like LinkedIn, where you are systematically engaging with local founders and industry leaders, and you create a closed loop of visibility and trust.
It's a complete ecosystem.
Okay, so we have this incredibly potent visibility system. We need geo-optimized site architecture. We need schema markup, dynamic interactive calculators to replace dead PDFs, a content repurposing ecosystem, and active relationship building on LinkedIn.
Yep, that's the stack.
If I'm a business owner listening to this, I'm fired up. I'm thinking, let's go. I'm going to have my team launch all of this simultaneously by next Monday.
This raises an important question about the psychology of marketing patience, and it is the exact point where most aggressive entrepreneurs sabotage their own growth.
Why can't I just buy Google Ads on day one to get clients tomorrow? I want revenue now.
I hear that all the time.
Oh.
But the guide outlines a very strict, non-negotiable architectural build order. You cannot launch a multi-channel visibility system in a weekend.
Okay.
If you try to build the roof before you have poured and cured the foundation, the entire structure collapses under its own weight.
So what is the actual blueprint? If I can't launch it all on Monday, how do I actually build this?
The author breaks the execution down into three distinct chronological phases.
Okay. Phase 1.
Phase 1 is strictly the foundation. This occupies the first 1 to 2 months of the initiative. During this time, you do not write a single piece of public content, and you do not spend a single dollar on advertising.
Wait, really? Nothing public.
Nothing. You are in the garage building the engine.
Got it.
You are conducting a ruthless website audit. You are tearing down the old brochure site and rebuilding the architecture. You are improving the page load speed, optimizing mobile responsiveness, and embedding that crucial schema markup and GEO structure into the code.
Setting up the triage nurse.
Exactly. You are rewriting the messaging to ensure it acts as that triage nurse, and you are fully optimizing your Google business profile with accurate metadata for local search.
You are making absolutely sure that when the traffic eventually arrives, the machine knows exactly how to catch it, sort it, and convert it.
Spot on. And once that foundation is mathematically proven to be solid, you move into phase 2. Content and visibility.
Okay, how long is that?
This covers months 2 through 4. Think of this as the planting phase.
A planting phase.
Yeah, you make your dynamic lead magnet live, you activate the automated email nurture sequence, you begin publishing those deeply researched, structured anchor articles, and you launch the content repurposing ecosystem across LinkedIn and other social channels.
We are planting seeds, establishing authority, and letting the AI crawlers begin to index this new wealth of structured data. But we still aren't pouring gasoline on the fire yet.
Nope. The amplification only happens in phase 3, which begins in month 3 or 4 and continues indefinitely.
Finally.
Right. Now that your website is a proven conversion engine and your organic content is establishing authority, you finally turn on the paid traffic.
The Google ads.
Yes. You launch Google Ads targeting high-intent keywords. You implement retargeting campaigns so that if a prospect visits your site and leaves, your firm's insights follow them around the internet, reinforcing your authority.
It makes complete logical sense when you hear the mechanics laid out chronologically. Of course, you wouldn't spend thousands of dollars to invite hundreds of people to a grand opening if the store shelves are empty and the cash register is broken.
Exactly. You build the foundation, you stock the shelves with value, and then you turn on the neon open sign.
But this rigid, multi-month timeline brings up a harsh reality about modern business growth. It is not an overnight hack.
No, it
Requires serious time and it requires capital. So what does this all mean for the listener who is trying to map this out for their own business? What are the realistic timelines and financial investments required to see an ROI?
The MIT CO Guide provides refreshing transparency on timelines, which vary drastically by channel. Paid amplification like Google Ads is your fastest path to pipeline generation.
Right.
Once phase 1 is complete and the ads are turned on, they can start generating qualified inquiries within 2 to 4 weeks.
Because you are paying to skip the line and capture people who are actively searching for a solution today.
Exactly. But the organic and structural channels require significantly more patience. Organic SEO takes approximately 3 to 6 months to show compounding growth because domain authority builds slowly as user dwell time and high-quality backlinks increase.
And what about the AI search stuff?
GEO and AI search visibility generally take 2 to 4 months as the large language models scrape, parse, and begin to trust your structured data.
Okay, and LinkedIn?
Building a genuine revenue-generating audience through LinkedIn networking. You should expect to invest 6 to 12 weeks of consistent engagement before seeing tangible off-platform inquiries.
It's a slow, methodical burn. And regarding the financial investment, the guide offers a very clear benchmark for budgeting this transition.
Yes, the recommended baseline is allocating 5% of your firm's target annual revenue to marketing.
5%. Okay.
If a firm wants to build and maintain the holistic system we've discussed, the technical SEO, the content ecosystem, the paid ads, the dynamic lead magnets, and the email nurturing, they estimate an external spend of roughly $3,500 to $6,000 per month.
Which naturally brings up the classic boardroom debate. Every business owner hears that number and thinks, can I just do this myself? Can I hand this to my junior associate to figure out, or do I need to hire an external agency?
The differentiator between DIY and hiring an agency isn't just about the number of channels you can be on. It is strictly about execution quality at scale.
Quality over quantity.
Always. If a firm chooses the DIY route, or relies on a small in-house team, the guide's explicit warning is to avoid spreading those resources too thin. Do not try to launch SEO, ads, LinkedIn, and email all at once.
Right.
Pick 2 channels, perhaps a highly optimized website foundation and a relentless, high-quality LinkedIn presence, and execute them flawlessly. A firm executing 2 channels with absolute brilliance will consistently outperform a firm doing 6 channels with mediocrity.
But if a firm realizes they need the entire visibility system running simultaneously and they don't have the internal bandwidth, that's where they look to an agency.
Right.
However, not all agencies are created equal, and the guide waves some massive red flags regarding who you trust to build this engine.
The most glaring red flag is the generalist agency.
The jack of all trades.
Yeah. If a marketing firm is running campaigns for a local pizza restaurant on Monday, a personal injury lawyer on Tuesday, and your highly technical B2B accounting firm on Wednesday, they fundamentally lack the capacity to understand your specific buyer psychology.
Makes sense.
They will write generic content that fails to capture the nuance of your industry, and they will build a system that attracts unqualified leads.
You have to demand sector-specific case studies.
Absolutely.
And more importantly, if an agency promises you page 1 organic results next week, or suggests turning on Google Ads before conducting a phase 1 structural audit of your website
Run fast. They're perfectly willing to set your money on fire.
knowledge is only valuable when it's correctly and systematically applied. And the painful truth for any business owner watching their referrals dry up today is that the competitors currently dominating your market, the ones scooping up those lucrative startup accounts, didn't start doing this yesterday.
No, they didn't.
They started building their structural foundations 6 to 12 months ago. So what does this all mean? It means marketing compounds over time. The best time to plant a tree was a year ago. The second best time is today.
The shift in mindset is moving from viewing marketing as an occasional, necessary expense to treating it as a compounding digital asset. You are building digital equity.
Digital equity. I like that.
A well-structured GEO article or a highly converting dynamic lead magnet will continue to capture and convert prospects long after the initial effort is expended. It is an owned asset, unlike the passive referral, which is entirely outside of your control and subject to the whims of your client's memories.
We have covered massive ground today. To synthesize the blueprint, the era of relying solely on the passive word-of-mouth referral is over because the digital verification process has taken over.
Right.
You must tear down the static brochure website and build a dynamic triage nurse that actively builds trust.
Yes.
You have to stop storing content in a filing cabinet and build a repurposing ecosystem. You must transition from old-school keyword SEO to structural, entity-based GEO so that AI models can confidently read and recommend your data.
Crucial step.
And above all, you must have the discipline to build the foundation before you ever spend a dime on amplification.
It is a fundamental operational shift for traditional businesses.
Yeah.
But it's the only viable path forward in a landscape mediated by artificial intelligence.
Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on.
Let's hear it.
This entire MIT CO guide and everything we just explored is built on the tactical premise of structuring your website's data so perfectly that AI systems like ChatGPT will inevitably recommend you as the best option in your market. But let's extrapolate this out a few years. If this blueprint becomes the industry standard, if every business eventually masters GEO, and every single website out there has flawless schema markup, brilliant dynamic lead magnets, and perfectly structured data, how does the AI decide who wins?
Oh, wow. That is a great question.
When technical perfection becomes the baseline, what is the tiebreaker? Will AI recommendations eventually become a pay-to-play model where the highest bidder simply purchases the ChatGPT endorsement?
I could definitely see that happening.
Or, ironically enough, will the digital landscape become so perfectly optimized, so frictionless, and so overwhelmingly noisy that buyers lose trust in the algorithms entirely, forcing us to return to old-fashioned, offline, human-to-human referrals just to bypass the AI?
Full circle.
Exactly. A massive, expensive digital arms race that leads us right back to the golf course. Something to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.